been waiting way too long. Yeah, I've been down here trying to get it. Yeah, I've been waiting way too long.
This is the video for section 2.7, prove angle pair relationships. We've actually already proven the vertical angle congruence theorem, and so we're going to look at some other things like that and then talk about how to identify properties within a proof. So the congruent supplements theorem says if two angles are supplementary to the same angle, then they are congruent. So what this is saying is if I have angle 1 and then I have angle 2 and then I have angle 3. What we're saying is what's given is that we have two angles supplementary to the same angle. So we could say that angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. And then also angle 3 and angle 2 are supplementary. That's what's given. That's what we're assuming. And what we're trying to prove is we're trying to prove then that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Which remember, if we want to say that those are congruent, then we need to prove that the measure of their angles are equal. So remember, the measures are equal, the angles are congruent. So if we are given that something is supplementary, we probably need to use that definition. So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180, and the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180. That is the definition of supplementary angles. Now again, we're trying to get that 1 equals to 3. If 1 plus 2 is 180 and 3 plus 2 is 180, we should see how 1 and 3 are the same. So what we're going to say is we're going to say that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 2. That is the transitive property. Transitive property because if we say 1 plus 2 equals 180 and 180 equals 2 plus 3, then 1 plus 2 must equal 2 plus 3. Take a moment to, think about how that works for the transitive property. Transitive property is like if A is greater than B, B is greater than C, then A is greater than C. And that's what happens here in step 2. So now, if 1 plus 2 equals 3 plus 2, what we can do is we can subtract 2 from both sides and we get 1 equals 3. Measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 3, and that is the subtraction property. And then we can say that they are congruent because of the definition of congruent angles. And that's how you would prove that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through the odd problems on page 128 because you're going to have to do the evens. And so I know the answers are in the back of the book for the odds, but I'm going to explain how we get those answers. So for number 9, you have this picture given in the book. It's a pair of scissors, but within the scissors, they show you that the lines. And so it says, if the measure of angle 3 is 168, then we need to find the other 3 angles. Well, I know that angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles, so angle 1 must also be 168. And I know angle 3 and angle 2 are a linear pair, which we know that a linear pair is going to be supplementary. So 180 minus 168 is going to be 12. And 2 and 4 are vertical, so that is also 12. Number 11 says if the measure of angle 2 equals 62, then that means 4 is also 62. 1 and 2 are also a linear pair, so 180 minus 62 is 118. So that's what your other 2 angles are going to be. All right, so for number 13, we need to find the value of x and y. So I have 4 angles here. I know that I have some vertical angles and I have some linear pairs. Remember, vertical angles are congruent. So 4x should be equal to 6x minus 26. Now I know that some of you are thinking, well, if they're equal, why are they different? Okay, well those are expressions. That's not a value. Okay, if it said 12 and 10, then you're right, that wouldn't be the same. But those are expressions, and so we can set those expressions equal to each other and solve. So I'm going to subtract 6x, so negative 2x equals negative 26. Divide by negative 2, so x equals positive 13. Now I need to find y. Couple ways you could do this. One way is you could do 6y plus 8 equals 7y minus 12. Or you could also do, if you know that x is 13, you could multiply 4 times 13, which is going to be 52. You could subtract 52 from 180, 180 minus 52, and then that number is going to be equal to 6y plus 8. So probably doing this will just be the most straightforward, but I just want to see that you could do that multiple ways. So I'm going to move the 6y over here. So 8 equals y minus 12, add 12. So 20 equals y. Y equals 20. Now, if it asked me to actually find the measure of this angle, for instance, then all I would need to do was plug in a 20 for y and evaluate the expression. All right, so now I'm going to do 17 through 19. Now, each of these questions is using the diagram to the right, which is, again, from the book. But these questions are separate from each other. So you're not going to use the answer to 17 in 19. Okay, so just treat them as separate. So number 17, it says angle 3 is 30 degrees. So what is angle 6? Now, you have to be very careful here, okay, to know if these are vertical angles. If these are vertical angles, okay, then what I highlighted has to be for both of the angles, and it is. Those are, in fact, vertical angles, and so we can say that they're congruent. For number 19, the measure of angle 6 is 27 degrees. What's the measure of angle 1? Okay, so I forgot to mention what was given. So it was given that FHE, BHG, AHF are all equal, and they all equal 90. So that's going to be important. So FHE is this guy. That's a 90-degree angle, which is a right angle. BHG, that is this guy here. And AHF, which is this guy. So those are my three right angles. They're all equal to each other. So if angle 6 is 27, what is angle 1? Well, if angle 6 is 27, then that means angle 7 is 90 minus 27, which is 63. That's angle 7. And if angle 7 is 63, then angle 1 is going to be 90 minus 63, because that together is a right angle. So that's going to be 27 degrees. I want to point out, though, that angle 6 and angle 1 are not vertical angles. It just so happened the way this diagram is that they're equal. And they're equal because of what we just talked through, not because they're vertical angles. For number 21, it says the measure of angle 3 is 32 degrees, and we need to find the measure of angle 2. Now, we know that 1 and 7 together make a right angle. So 1 plus 7, measure of angle 1, plus measure of angle 7 equals 90. We also know that the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle BHD. And what I know about BHD and BHG, angle BHD and angle BHG are a linear pair. So if this angle is a linear pair with this angle, then BHD must also be 90, because its supplement on the other side of the linear pair is 90. So if 3 is 32, then 2 is going to be 90 minus 32, which is 58 degrees. All right, so I'm going to stop there and let you work through the rest. So make sure you do those we'll do those practice problems in class, but make sure you understand the ones that I have gone over already.